who would you put in the college football playoff? Right? Now, if you root for chaos, and Adam Klug, my producer, is a chaos seeker, right? Like there are guys that are storm chasers. And there are guys, they have regular jobs, and all of a sudden, when the frontal boundaries start getting there, you're anywhere in the Midwest, they get in their car and they become an amateur storm chaser, right? They start figuring out, like, how can I go see a twister? Klug is that guy for chaos in college football. He's a Georgia fan, so, dude, Georgia was, how about this, the Hail Mary against Tennessee away from playing in the Sugar Bowl, and they just lost to Georgia Tech at home. But this has nothing to do, and none of this for me has anything to do with my own ties. Like, you went to Oklahoma State, so like I've always been reasonable about Oklahoma State. You go back to last year, it was an absolute miracle based upon their injuries that they were in the position they were in going into the last 3 games of the season. And I told you they were going to get stomped by Ole Miss because of a lack of talent, and they were completely beaten up by a good league. Big 12 this year has not been good. But the best win the Big 12 had out of league was Oklahoma State over Pittsburgh, same team that beat Clemson and beat Penn State. But Klug he wants chaos. And if you want chaos, chaos still possibly exists. Florida could beat Alabama. And to any of you who are like, where you go win your conference championship, if Florida beats Alabama, are you going to keep Alabama out of the college football playoff? Of course you're not. I mean, think about that for a second. Like, many of you have dug in on the idea that you can't not win a conference championship or conference championship game and get in the college football playoff. And as much as it seems like a formality, look, it's still a football game. We've seen crazy things happen before. Florida pulls off the upset. Florida, this game that supposedly matters, they won't get in the college football playoff, and Alabama will. So we all have to, with that in mind, understand that a conference championship really doesn't mean anything. Like, yes, it does. No, it doesn't. It does to you because you're emotionally invested. And it does to you because you take this committee previously at their word. When the truth is that this committee or previous versions of this committee have contradicted their word time and again. I give you 2 years ago when they had TCU number 3. TCU wins 55-3, and they end up moving from 3rd to 5th. The college football playoff is supposed to give us the 4 best teams in college football. And you can make your argument about University of Washington and about how they could win the Pac-12. If you're rooting for chaos, Colorado wins. You'd want Penn State to win. You'd want Oklahoma State to win. You'd want Virginia Tech to win. You'd want Florida to win. And if that happens, I don't really know what the answer is, but I do know what I think the 4 best teams are. Right? Alabama's the best team. Nobody's arguing with that. Clemson has probably the weakest resume of any of these teams if you actually dig into it. Like, who has Clemson actually beaten this year? Louisville, who just lost to Kentucky? You know, Louisville, who'd they get housed by? Houston? Like, Louisville, that's your best win. Should have lost to NC State, didn't. Clemson lost to Pittsburgh on their own home field. Their best win is Florida State, who's okay. So they have the weakest resume, but it's a lot like resumes for any jobs. Like, resumes aren't really telling. Ohio State has the strongest resume. Right? Beat Wisconsin, beat Michigan, beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma. Oh, but they didn't win their division. Yeah, they lost to Penn State. And that's why they won't play in the Big Ten championship game. But that's not what the college football playoff is supposed to find. 4 best teams. Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Clemson. In no particular order, outside of Alabama being number 1. And outside of that, you can make your argument Wisconsin very well may be deserving if they win. I don't think they're better than Ohio State or Michigan. Why do I say that? Because they lost to Ohio State and Michigan. So you can make your argument about resumes, about head-to-head wins, but you just ask yourself as honestly as you possibly can. If Michigan were to play your school this weekend, who do you think would win? You know, you can give me your Washington only has 1 loss and they could beat Colorado. Great. USC came in and thumped Washington. USC is a better team right now than Washington is. Just the way in which this system works, it doesn't have the equity. You can't have the flaws that USC had with a different quarterback early in the season and survive that. I understand that. Like, I'm reasonable. I would say that USC is right there as the 4th or 5th or 6th best team in the country. They're just not going to get in because there hasn't been enough losses sustained by everybody else. But if you want to put a 2-loss Penn State team in, a 3-loss SC team is much better and more, and I think most people would know that. So the summation is this. You can make your arguments about strength of schedule, and you may well be right. You can make your arguments about head-to-head, and you may well be right. I can make counter-arguments. But if you search your soul for the 4 best teams, it'd be hard to argue against my 4.